Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of the Calling for Orpheus Knitting Podcast. My name is Connor, and you can find me at Calling for Orpheus on both Instagram and Ravelry. Now, today we have what is technically the second ever episode because not last week, but like the last episode 2 weeks or so ago was just a haul. It wasn't really like traditional podcast style. And now that it's the end of the month, I have got an actual, like, regular traditional podcast style episode for you. I've got a lot to show, honestly. I think my lighting is kind of weird because I'm recording this. What time is it? Let's see. It's just before 5 o'clock, so my lighting is like a little weird, but hopefully it's fine. So the first exciting thing that I have to say since last podcast is that I finished everything that I showed in the last podcast except for the socks. I had a little pair. I only had one at the time, but what was going to be a little pair of vanilla socks, and I didn't even finish the first sock because I just like ran out of motivation to do them, honestly. And I'm not sure what it was. I'm not sure if it was like the yarn, like the color of the yarn, because I bought it online, and online it looked very red, and in person it was pink. Like a third of it was like Baker Miller pink, and I don't hate pink. I don't like my. This is pink. I drink out of this every day. It's pink, but I don't like love pink. It's not a color that I particularly like. So it's just kind of eh. But also, I don't really love wearing fingering weight knit socks, to be honest with you. I wear them in the winter when it's really cold outside and I need to like wear a warm sock and a boot. But if I'm inside in the warm months and the air conditioning is blasting and my feet are cold, I want like a thick DK weight sock or like a colorwork sock or something. So anyway, I've not been that motivated. I've not been that motivated to work on those. But everything else I finished. So I've got a couple of finished objects, including what I'm wearing. I'm gonna go through them in chronological order. So this is the first one that I finished. And this is my, let me kind of adjust for you. Yes, I'm in shorts, but it's a little wrinkly. It's a little wrinkly because it's been sitting up folded. And this yarn wrinkles really easily. It's pretty, I wouldn't call it delicate, but it's very drapey. And when you have drapey yarns, they're really prone to wrinkling. So it is a little wrinkled, but it's fine. This is my Elliot pullover. I've been referring to it as a like heavily modified version of the Elizabeth blouse by Petite Knit, but that's not really true, because honestly the only part that I took from that pattern was the collar. Everything else is not only self-drafted but was improvised. So I did the collar and then I wung everything else. So one of the or I guess like the biggest difference is the shoulder construction. So where the Elizabeth blouse is a raglan, this I've done a contiguous set and sleeve. I always forget what it's called. A contiguous set and sleeve. Because I don't hate raglans. I don't hate raglan seaming, but it's not my favorite. I think especially in a light yarn, I don't love it. And then the other change that I made was the sleeves. Sleeves are a totally different length. I made them like 3/4 length because I wanted this to be a transitional kind of thing, not a cold weather garment. And I envisioned it with long sleeves, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna look like John Arbuckle. That doesn't work for me. So I made them smaller and also a lot slimmer. Petite Knit does a lot of positive ease in her patterns, like way more than I like. So they're a lot slimmer. The whole body is a lot slimmer. It's a totally different stitch count for the body, for everything. Oh, I didn't even mention like the basics. So this was knit in Knitting for Olive, merino, and compatible cashmere. Hang on, I have some of it with me. Okay, I always forget which button is to stop and which button is to pause, but this is the yarn I used. I have a lot left over, actually, but this is the yarn that I used. It's Knitting for Olive merino. This is just their classic fingering weight merino. And this is their cashmere, and it's both in the color poppy blue. It shows up wonderful on camera. I love the way it looks on camera. I have a lot of it left. Like mountains of it left. I've got like 5 of these pairs left. It's a lot. I think I'm gonna make a hat or something like that, but I might have more than I need for a hat. I'll figure something out, but anyway. I love the yarn. It's really soft. It's very drapey. It's, like I said, it's kind of prone to wrinkling, but other than that, it's great. And I think for cashmere, because cashmere is not a cheap fiber, but for cashmere, I think it's great. I think it's a great value is what I mean to say. It's not cheap, but it's cheaper than basically any other brand you'll get. And Knitting for Olive is committed to being cruelty-free, ethical, one of the two, maybe both, which is always nice. So yeah, literally the only thing that I don't like about it is the bind off. So let me kind of show you. I did a different bind off on the bottom than I did at the rest, because like for the sleeves, I did a regular sewn tubular bind off, and visually you really can't tell the difference, honestly. You can't tell a difference, but I can feel the difference. So I was feeling lazy when I finished it because there was so much stuck in it. I was like, I'm gonna be done with it. And I was feeling lazy, and I didn't want to do the sewn bind off. So I was like, okay, let me find a knitted bind off that will work for the 1x1, that won't flare out, and that will stretch. And I found something called Lori's Twisty bind off, and I have kind of complex feelings on the bind off. Sorry, my face is itchy. I don't know why. I have kind of like complex feelings about it because I think that it would be a really fantastic bind off for specific projects, but not for something like this. I think it would be great for a sock, for like a toe-up sock, because the bind off, it looks beautiful. It really doesn't flare, and it does stretch, but it only stretches to a point. Like it is tight. It is tighter than you'll get with a sewn bind off, at least for me. Which means I think that it would be perfect for a sock or something where like you want it to stretch over your calf, but you want it to kind of hold tight. But because this is a slim fitting garment, I really do wish that I had gone and done, because it doesn't stretch as much as I want it to. It's actually kind of uncomfortable to get over my shoulders. So I honestly wish I had done a different bind off, and I might even go in and rip out what I've done and put in a sewn bind off instead. But other than that, I'm really pleased with it. I love it. Yeah, so it's just it's a pretty heavy mod to the Elizabeth blouse, but you could just make an Elizabeth blouse and make it like at a smaller size, and you could probably basically get the same one. So, on to the next thing. The next thing is my, no, it's not down, is my second barley sample. Oh god, it's always hard to show it off because I can't see what you see. So I'm hoping you can actually like see it. But this is my second barley sample, and I think last time I spoke to you guys, it was like I was like up to here with it. I hadn't even separated the sleeves yet. But yeah, it's all done. It's all done. And this was knitted using Juniper Moon Farm Zoe. I don't have any extra skeins of it. It was knitted using Juniper Moon Farm Zoe in the color White Pepper and Mainsail. And I did it on 3.25mm needles for the entire thing. I think including the finishing. I think it's all done on 3.25. And I don't have much to say about it because I designed it. So it's not like I have any feedback. But I will say, I do have a lot to say about everybody else's feedback. So I think in the first podcast episode, I mentioned something like I should be done with the pattern in fall. Excuse me. But I don't want to release it in fall because what knitter wants to knit a linen t-shirt in the fall, right? But I got a bunch of comments. People were like, no, you should release it. I'll knit it. I live in the South. Like, I also live in the South. I know it's hot as hell here until like December. I know it's hot. They're like, I'll knit it. Or, you know, the Southern Hemisphere, they're only just starting spring around the corner, I think. Yeah, they're just starting spring. It's currently winter for them. So, like, if you release it now, somebody will knit it. But, like, I would say probably 99% of my audience is in the Northern Hemisphere, for one. Because I don't think there's... At least not, like, on Ravelry. I don't know how many people use Ravelry in the Southern Hemisphere outside of, like, Australians. And I don't know that I have any Australian knitters in my audience. And then in the Northern Hemisphere, yes, a lot of us do live in hot climates, but not all. And to be honest with you, I'm already knitting like woolly sweaters and stuff because I'm sick of it. You know, when I see the sentiment for a lot of knitters, even people who live in really hotter climates than I live in, are already knitting sweaters because that's just what they like to knit. So for one, I don't know that it actually would be the most opportune time from like a consumer perspective. But the other thing is, I think I want to get it tested, and seeing all of the like hype for it in the comments of the last video, even when it was like just a little sliver of something, like it wasn't a shirt yet. Excuse me. Seeing all the hype for it has kind of eased my nerves around testing, because I'm like, you know, I want to get it tested because it's kind of complicated, and I want to make sure that it works, but I'm worried that no one's going to want to. And seeing all the comments of people are like, I want to knit it, I'll pay for it. It's gonna be a free pattern. All of my patterns are gonna be free. They're all free. This isn't a side hustle for me. It's something I do for fun. They're all gonna be free. All right, they're all gonna be free. At least like until, unless it becomes a career, but I don't think it will. And also I think it's important that we to make free patterns that are actually like cute, because as someone who I can't use Ravelry to buy things, because of their like crappy Anyway, they have a terrible payment system. It doesn't work for me. I don't use PayPal. I can't use PayPal. That's your only option. Does not work for me. I can't buy things off of Ravelry. And so for me, I love free patterns. I love getting free patterns, even though like I can't afford to pay for a pattern. But I love free ones because I don't have to pay for it because I don't have to navigate Ravelry's horrible payment system. But a lot of free patterns are just like not cute. I'm sorry, they're not. There's not a lot of free. Then there's not a lot of free patterns out there for men, and a lot of the ones that are for like someone's dad. You know, like, they're for not to shade anybody's dad, but like they're clearly for like a more mature demographic, which is just not my style. You know, I don't want to be wearing, you know, like a classic cable sweater with a shawl collar. It's not my style. So it will be free, but the fact that like people are willing to pay for it and all that stuff tells me that people will be willing to test it. And the other thing is, the testers will basically be volunteering because it is a free pattern. So I want to give a really long window, right? Because like, if I'm not compensating you via a paid for pattern for free, I want to at least give you the leeway of having a long test window. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to like work slowly through finishing grading the pattern, clean up the PDF, and then call for testers in winter time and give like 12 weeks to test and release it in spring or summer of next year. So that's my plan. Again, it is getting released. Just to show you it again, I should probably put it on. Actually, I should probably put it on. Hang on. Okay, so this is how it looks on. I'm on my knees, so that's why I'm like shuffling. I don't know if like white is my color, but this is how it looks on. This is how it fits. It has a pretty like boxy. It's really boxy. It's really boxy, really slouchy. It has the fun shoulder detail. It's supposed to be more forward than it is. But yeah, it's got the cool saddle shoulder sleeve detail. I love it. It fits great. And it's, even though it's a pretty big gauge, so the way that it works in the pattern is very unusual. So the gauge, let me sit. The pre-blocking gauge is supposed to be bigger than your post-blocking gauge. Because what you're supposed to do, because it's a linen yarn, is you're supposed to put it in the washing machine with some other clothes, with a dryer ball, with whatever you need to put in there to beat it up, and that softens it, but it also causes it to shrink. So the initial gauge is about 5 stitches to the inch, and then the post-blocking gauge is like 6 stitches to the inch, I think, something like that. Which is really interesting, but it also means that the fit is really versatile. So, and what I mean by that is like you can knit, when you knit the size medium, this is size medium, if you don't put it in the machine to shrink it, it's basically the measurements of a large. So if you're lazy and you don't want to knit as many stitches, but you need a bigger size, you can just pick a size down. You can just pick a smaller size and not shrink it. But the other thing is, that I was really going to say before that is, though it is a big gauge, because it's linen, and it's pretty loose, it's not like a worsted weight yarn. It's a sport weight yarn worked on 3.25 millimeter needles that gets you that really big gauge. And I'm a loose knitter, so you might have to go up to like a 4 millimeter or something like that if you're not a loose knitter like I am. But it's open-ish. Like, I was gonna try and show you the light coming through, but it's on my body, so I obviously can't do that. But it's open-ish, but it's not see-through. But because it's linen, and it's somewhat open, even though it's heavy, to be honest with you. It's heavy, and it's a big gauge, but despite that, it's really breathable. It's not hot to wear. I've worn this thing, I wear this a lot since I finished it. I finished it in probably the 16th, maybe, and I've worn it, like, basically every time I've gone out since, in, like, 90-degree heat and 100% humidity. It's fine. It's not uncomfortable at all. It's great. I love it. And it is, like, for the release, it is intended as a men's pattern, but obviously anybody can make it, anybody can wear it, but it does follow, like, men's sizing convention. So keep that in mind. You might wear a different size in this. You'll probably wear a smaller size in this if you're a woman. But yeah, it's great. I love it. And now I don't know if I want to keep this because I'm actually kind of cold in this. I'm actually a little cold, so I think I'm going to put my Elliot back on, and then we'll get to the last, or maybe I should just put the last finished object right on. Whatever. So the last finished object that we've got is my splatter sweater, and this is more vibrant in person. I think the camera, and it might be because of all the bright colors that I have around me, but it is kind of like toned down and muted on camera, but in person it is really bright. So this is my splatter sweater. It's my second ever crocheted sweater. I crocheted it out of hedgehog fibers sock in the colorway Celestial, and this is a Sorella yarn. It's whatever I think it's just called nylon sock, I think is what it's called. It's 2-ply, And this color, I don't remember the name of the color. I don't have the ball band anymore, but it's from their winter tones collection, I think. It's from their, yeah, it's either fall or winter. I kind of think it's winter, but I might actually be wrong. But yeah, it's a Sorella yarn. They're both just nylon sock yarns. So yeah, I don't even have that much to say about this. I don't have a lot to say about it. I really like it. I really like the way that variegated yarn pools in crochet, because in knitting it tends to either micro stripe, or you get those like big tiger zigzag stripes. And I don't really like either, but I love variegated yarn. So I might do more crocheted things with variegated yarn. Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing because it doesn't look very good on camera, but in person it's really vibrant. I wonder if I can like just put it. No, yeah, no, it looks really sad on camera. It doesn't look like this in person. The other thing that I think is kind of interesting is the bottom hem. I didn't do any ribbing because I made it too long for ribbing. I did it bottom up, and it ended up being too long for any ribbing. So, but I like the look. It's pretty comfortable. I really don't have a lot to say about it. I really don't have anything to say about this, other than that. I think it just doesn't look very good on camera. But anyway, I like it. So I think I'm gonna put this back on because it's the most comfortable, and then I'm gonna get into my whips because I have kind of a lot of them. I forgot about one finished object, which is arguably the most exciting finished object. It's kind of, I guess it's kind of a half-finished object because the entire quantity isn't done, but a little bit of it is, and that is my very first skein of hand spun. Look at it! Just look at it for a minute. Just look at it. Just look at it. It's hand spun. I spun that yarn by hand on a spindle. Is it ugly? Yes, but I love it. So this is from my Shiniko. I heard somebody call it Shaniko, but I'm gonna say Shiniko until I'm told that that's wrong. It's from my Shiniko base that I bought at Southern Comforts Fiber Market. These are both dyed by cesium yarns, and the two colors are, let me just show you, because I've got more of it. So this color is These Aren't the Droids, and this color is In a Flash. So as you can see, like I've finished spinning all of the blue. I think what I might do is I might take it off of this spool, which is a toilet paper roll. I might take it off of this and set the spin, because there's, like, you can see areas like this where it's pretty tightly spun and it's kind of collapsing on itself, which makes it hard to apply, and I learned that the hard way with this, so I might do that beforehand. But I've started In a Flash, and I'm gonna apply them together. It's working out to be a bulky weight, which is not my favorite thing, and I don't really know what I'm gonna make with it. I'm kind of thinking I might do a Frame Your Face cowl by Andrew Mowry, which I think released earlier this week, but it's worsted weight, and I might be able to make it work with bulky. And yeah, I think that would be really fun. I'm not sure what contrast color I would pick. I might do like a navy blue or even black, because black is one of my other really big colors. But yeah, I love it. It's so much fun. It reminds me of like zombies for some reason. But yeah, so what I have here, this is 12 grams of yarn, and it's also 12 yards. And it's coming out to, like I said, it's coming out to be a bulky weight, which is not my favorite thing. But honestly, what I found to be the case is the Shiniko is very coarse. And I heard other people say this after I started spinning it. I shouldn't have made this my first spin. I should not have, but I did. Because I didn't know that. I didn't know the qualities of the fiber. But yeah, it's really coarse. I want to say that it's got like a short staple length, maybe. It has either a high or low micron count, whichever one is for coarse fiber. But I found it very difficult to spin, or really difficult to draft, because it's just very coarse. It's very coarse, and it feels like I really can't get a lot of length out of it. I can't really inchworm it. It's just quite tough, and for that reason, I've got a lot of really thick spots in there that's much more obvious on the first spin. So you can see I've got like really thick spots in there just because it's really difficult to draft. So I would not recommend Shiniko for a beginner, but it's pretty soft. It looks cool. Cesium did a great job. I don't know her name, but she did a fantastic job on the dies. So that's that. And then, yeah, this is technically like my first whip, is the rest of it. So I think I'm gonna have about 80 or 90 grams in total of bulky weight yarn. Probably. It's probably gonna be bulky or Aran weight by the time I'm done with everything. And then the other whip that I have is, believe it or not, this is a different yarn. Believe it or not, this is a different fiber. This is, I don't have any of it like finished yet. I wonder if you can see, my face is kind of in the way, but I wonder if you can kind of see. You really can't. Ugh, I need to get a real camera, but the strands I'm getting are pretty fine. Let me pull it out. So I'm getting some pretty fine strands, which is good because I like working with fine yarn. And what this is from Pink Pigeon Dye Studio, based in Charlotte. And this color is number 22. It didn't have a name on the ball band or the, I don't know, the braid band. And this is 100% Rambouillet, and this has been so much better to spin. This has been a dream to spin. And what I think I'm probably going to do is either spin I have 100 grams of this fiber. I'm either going to spin the entire 100 grams and then separate it, or I'm going to separate it and then spin them separately and ply them. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm having a much better experience with this. I feel like it's not as soft. I feel like it's not as soft as the Shiniko, but it's much like, oh, it really won't focus. I feel it's just much easier to spin. It's much more pliable. It's much airier, much more pliable. So I would much more recommend Rambouillet, and I'm probably going to do some research to find other fibers with similar qualities to Rambouillet, to use more of that in the future, because I've really been liking it. So now we get onto my knitting whips, and I think I'm going to try to go in chronological order from which one I cast on first. Let me get this on a hanger, it'll be easier. Okay, this is another one that's not showing up well on camera, really. But this is my second Barley Tee. So, it's a little scrunched up because the needles are weighing down on it. But it's my second Barley Tee. I knitted this up, it's in the process, but I've been knitting this up in Juniper Moon Farm Summer Solstice is the main color. It's the color Baby's Breath, and the stripes are Juniper Moon Farm Zoe in the color White Pepper. I'm worried that I might not have enough yarn, honestly, to finish it. I might have to go back to the store. Excuse me. It's taking a lot of yarn. I've used one full skein and part of this one to get this far, which is not a ton. But what I did for this one, because it's a sport weight, it's not a fingering, it's finger weight pattern. What I did for this is I followed the instructions for the smallest size. I followed them exactly for the collar, the short rows, all of that stuff, and until I got to the regular repeated increase section in the round, and then I just did that until I got an appropriate number of stitches for the sleeves and the front and the back, and then I knitted just a couple of rounds, like about an inch in pattern, because the yoke wasn't quite deep enough. I knitted a little bit farther, and then I separated for sleeves. It's pretty easy. I really like the colors. It's not showing up well on camera. It's showing up very warm. It's a very cool, sagey green. It's showing up definitely a lot warmer on camera, maybe because it's surrounded by all of this blue, but I really like the colors on me. I think it's really nice. Yeah. I don't have anything crazy to say about it. I will say the Summer Solstice is much easier on my hands than Zoe. It's also a cotton linen blend like Zoe, but instead of being just cotton and linen, it also contains, I think, viscose and polyamide, which is making it, I'm not sure if it's making it more elastic, but it is making it a bit softer, which is nice. And then the next thing I have to kind of reach over for, so give me a second. Okay, this is my pride and joy right now. So last summer, I test knitted a sweater for Audrey Borrego, also known as Yarn Flakes, and that was her Colleen jumper. I'll picture or two. We're gonna go here so you can see what it is. It's a beautiful design, and it went really badly for me. It's beautiful, but my gauge was all wrong. First of all, my gauge was all wrong, and second of all, I neglected to read the fact that it's designed with negative ease, so I picked the wrong size. And it ended up being, I have a 36.5-inch chest and hips, and it ended up being 32 inches, which I think on my body, even 1 inch of negative ease is no thank you. Personally, I just don't like negative ease. And this I'm 4, and it just, I can physically get it on my body, but it looks bad. It looks like it doesn't fit. It doesn't look tastefully fitted. It looks like it doesn't fit. And I was devastated because I love the design. It's beautiful. Obviously, again, I'll put a picture so you can see how beautiful it is. But again, at Southern Comforts, I bought some yarn for it because I was determined to knit myself a new one. And here it is. Oh, it's so pretty. I like it even more than the old one. I like it even more. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. I just want you to just take it out. Just take it in. Again, I can't really see what you're looking at because I'm covering my face, but yeah, just take that in. Wait, this is the back. I'm showing you the back. Oops. Here's the front. There we go. Sorry. You just got a big shot of the back, but yeah, here's the front. They're the same. It's the same, except the back has the short rows. Beautiful. I'm knitting this in the dyer. The brand is the Fiber Studio at Yarns to Die For. The Fiber Studio. Wait, you'll see this one. The Fiber Studio at Yarns to Die For. Long name. And the base is prime alpaca. It's a 100% alpaca base. It's sport weight, and they come in these gigantic 200 gram skeins. I have not had to join a single new skein this whole time. It's fantastic. They're a little expensive, but it's fantastic. It's a good deal for what it is. And the two colors are, I believe, chocolate and fawn are the two colors. It's very soft. It's quite slippery. But yeah, so what I did for this is I chose size 5 because I just wanted to be safe, and I knitted it up. I didn't do a gauge swatch because the first time I knitted it, the gauge swatch lied, so I didn't do a gauge swatch. I just knitted the yoke, and then I measured the gauge from the yoke. Don't do that. I should know. I'm like an advanced level knitter. I should know not to do that. Don't do that. I don't know why I did that, but I did that. And you shouldn't do that because the yoke is round. The yoke is round. It's not going to give you a good straight measurement. It's round. So you really need to measure from here when you're working straight. But I measured from the yoke like an idiot, and it was giving me a gauge of 27 stitches and 25 rows in 4 inches. Now the gauge for the pattern is 26 stitches and 38 rows. So I was like, oh, okay, that's a little funky. And I blocked it. The gauge didn't really change. I blocked the yoke before I divided for sleeves, so I didn't want to mess up again. I didn't want to put all of that effort in for another sweater that wasn't going to work. So I blocked the yoke, and again, I measured it, and that's like, I got the same thing, and I was like, oh, shite. I might have to cast on a ton of stitches, and that's what I did. And first, for reference, the body stitch count that I had initially when I separated for sleeves was 296 stitches. 296. This, which is also sport weight yarn, knit on a smaller needle, is 220. This, which is sport DK, 198. And for a fingering weight sweater, I would normally do like 240. So 296, I was like, that can't be right. That's crazy. So that's like a lace weight sweater, even with color work, like that's crazy. So I went back and measured it here, this was just knit straight. There's no increases here. I measured it here, and I was getting a gauge of like 5 stitches to the inch. So it was 22 stitches in 4 inches, and I was like, oh fuck, oh fuck, that's not the gauge I thought I had at all. So I ripped it back. Not the whole thing, but I ripped back everything that I had past this point, and I did the math, and the math was telling me that I could go all the way down to a size 4. Like, I wasn't gonna rip back anything that I already done, but the math was telling me that I could cast on fewer stitches so that I would have a size 4 body circumference. And because I knit the size 3 the first time and it went so badly, I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't trust that. So I decided to do a number in between. I think it might still be bigger than I need it to be. But I decided to cast on a number in between 4 and 5. Because for every size, it's a difference of 2 full chart repeats. So I can just take one out and the overall pattern is going to be fine. But I'm nervous that it might still honestly be a little bit too big. This is, it's pretty big. And I'm nervous that it's going to be like 50 inches or something like that. And again, that was gross, I'm sorry. And again, I'm 36 and a half around. So 50 inches is kind of a lot. It's 14 inches of positives. But I would rather this design be big and oversized and I'm looking at it. It's probably going to be fine. And I know that blocking really doesn't change the circumference at all. Actually, maybe I should try it on. Maybe I should try it on too. Maybe just try it on. Let me do that. Actually, hang on. Okay. So that's what I'm getting. I think it fits. I think it's fine. I think it's totally fine. There's like a hair in my eyeball. I think it's fine. I think it fits. I think it looks nice. I think browns are kind of my best neutral. Brown and black, I think, are my best stuff. It's a little itchy. Alpaca's weird in that it's both very soft and like a little itchy. It's like mohair. It's kind of like mohair in the same way that it's soft to the touch, but on your neck and stuff, it's like it's a little prickly. But on my arms, it's fine. Usually my arms are quite sensitive, but on my arms it's fine. It's just my neck here. It's like a little bleh, but yeah, I think that fits just fine. I think that fits just fine, and it's not really going to change size when I block it because I've already blocked this part and I know what it does. I'm really glad that I did that because normally I wouldn't be that good about my knitting, but yeah, I like it. Okay, so that was my Colleen Jumper 2.0, and I actually have only one. I only have one more whip left, and it's something I started last night. So I think hopefully, maybe potentially, I mentioned how much I love this yarn combo before. Like here it is. This is what I was looking for. I love this yarn combo. The Knitting for Olive Merino and Cashmere is such a good blend. You get a lot of cashmere for your buck. Like typically when you buy a cashmere wool blend yarn, it's only like 10% cashmere, but in this fabric, it's like, I think it's like 35 or 40% cashmere because the cashmere is more than half the thickness of the merino. So it's not like 2 parts merino, 1 part cashmere. It's like 1.5 parts merino, 1 part cashmere, kind of. So you get actually a lot of cashmere, and it's not that expensive for cashmere. It's expensive, but it's not that bad for cashmere. Okay? So I love the blend. It's really soft. It's really nice. It wrinkles a little bit again, but it wears really well. The other thing that I love about it is that it's not hot. You know, a lot of times, like if you're gonna pair wool and mohair or wool and surrey, it's hot as hell. But cashmere is not really a hot fiber in the same way. It's much more breathable. So I find it to be really comfortable and perfect for where I live. So I bought another quantity of it in this slightly different color. Oh, it's a pretty different color actually. Yeah, it's pretty different. So this is what I've cast on. It's just self-drafted. It shows up, yeah, pretty accurate on screen. This is what I've got. As you can see, it's bottom up. Doing a bottom up sweater. There's a little bit of marling. It doesn't show up that clearly on camera, but it's not that obvious in person either. It's pretty subtle. It's got a bit of a marl going on, and these are the 2 colors that I'm using. So they look very different next to each other, but they marl pretty well. So this is the merino. This is the colorway lavender blue, and I don't think that's accurate at all. It's not blue. It's purple. This isn't blue. But also, I think I might have a weird, like, skewed perception of color because people will say, like, oh, that's purple. It's like, no, that's definitely pink. That's pink. Or, like, they'll call this blue. It's like, this is not even close to blue. That's definitely purple. But I would call this, like, periwinkle. Lavender blue is sort of, I feel like is maybe a little bit of a weird name for it. I would call this periwinkle. And this is dusty dove blue. Once again, this isn't blue. This is, like, pretty objectively not blue. This is definitely gray. It's a very cold gray. It's not just cool, it's a cold gray. But it's definitely gray. It's not blue. I think, let me get it. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think next to like white or cream it looks like blue. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. This is gray. It's definitely gray, and they look different. They look different on the website, unfortunately, which is, I think happens a lot with Knitting for Olive. I love Knitting for Olive yarn. Y'all know I kind of buy from them a lot. Well, you might not know that well, but like I do kind of buy from them a lot. And it's because I know that it's really high quality. I know that the dye doesn't leak. It's cruelty free. It's not that expensive. The shipping is kind of expensive because you do have to pay for shipping to the United States. No matter how much money you spend, you have to pay for shipping, unfortunately. We don't get free shipping unless there's like a promotion for it. We don't get free shipping. But it doesn't take a long time to get to you. It's like $10 to ship. It's not really the end of the world. And I love their yarn, but I don't find often that the colors are inaccurate, but these I did find to be a little bit inaccurate. This definitely looks a lot softer on the website. This I think is pretty accurate. I think it's like a little bit, let me shield it from the natural blue light outside. It's maybe a little bit softer on the website, maybe a little bit less purple, a little bit more soft on the website, but this is definitely very different on the website, I think, in my opinion. And so when they came, I was like, oh, that's not what I wanted. And I knitted up a little swatch, and I was like, oh, I hate it. I don't like this at all. And I freaked out, and I started doing other things with both of them. I was planning different projects for each, but those weren't sticking either, and I had ripped out the swatch because I was like, I hate it. And I came back to it literally yesterday. I was like, I'm not really happy with the individual projects that I've been trying to do. So what if I just go back to square one? What if I try to pair them together again? What if I like it now? and I do. I actually do like it now. It's not something that I'm like obsessed with. Like I think if I saw it, yeah, no, I like it. I mean, really, really up close. Again, my camera really has a hard time focusing. My camera, my phone. Um, I think up close, I'm not obsessed with it up close. It does look a little bit weird to have this like really vibrant purple next to this gray. It looks a little strange, but I think the overall effect is quite nice because it just looks like a soft, like grayed out purple color. Or it looks like a warm gray, which is because of the purple, it makes it look like a warm gray, which is my preferred gray. Right? Like I think, but I like this much better. And even like, I mean, I think this is a good color on me, honestly, but I like it. I like it just fine. And it's really soft is the other thing. It's very soft, and obviously I'm working over fewer stitches, so it'll be done faster. But yeah, the plan for this is just a self-drafted, bottom-up, drop-shoulder sweater. Starting from the bottom, gonna knit up, and then I'm gonna do what Andrea Mowry does with her drop shoulders. I'm gonna cast on extra stitches at either underarm to give like a proto drop to create a really, like a proto sleeve to create a really extreme drop. I love the way that looks. Do some neckline shaping. I want a nice tight collar. I'll probably do a single fold collar, but I might do a double fold if I have enough yarn. Yeah, it's gonna be really basic, but it'll fill a niche, I think, in my wardrobe. And I'm gonna like it. It's really soft. It's just like this one, but it's gonna be bigger and chunkier and a little bit more fit for like winter weather. So yeah, I like it. And that concludes the whips. And so the only thing that I have left is a single project plan / acquisition, but I don't have the acquisition with me. So I have one skinny yarn that I can show you, and we'll get into it. Here it is, my Lotta Super Skein. And actually, it is. It doesn't really show up correctly on camera. Yeah, it doesn't really. I think next to the blue, because when I filmed it, the last episode where I did like the haul, it was showing up as like a honey yellow, like a really orangey warm yellow, and it's greener than it's showing up on camera. It's a little greener in person, but this is more accurate. But it's not really yellow. It's really it's right in between. I'll try to put up a picture from the website as to what they advertise it as looking like. It's yellow, but it's a very, very, very green yellow. And so this is the Lotta Super Skein, as I said. It's non-superwash Merino Rambouillet. This is the color Sundrop. This is from Queen City Yarn, as you can see. Oh, and let me show you so you can, know how to spell Lotta Super Skein when you go to buy your own, because that's fantastic. I love this yarn. I've not worked with it yet, but just feeling it, it's like, it's so good. It's so perfect. It's like, it's non-superwash, but it's the softest non-superwash yarn I've ever touched, and I mean that. And I think a big part of that is the lanolin. It is so rich with lanolin. It's like you touch it, and it's like you just applied lotion. It's like if my hands were dry, I could just pet the Lotta Super Skein, and it's got so much lanolin that it just comes right off your hand. So, in the last video, I was talking about what I want to do with this, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I have like 5 project ideas. I don't know which one I like the most, and I need help. And my 2 top choices were Wool and Honey by Andrea Mowry or The Citrine Light by Emily Green. Here they are. I'll put them up here. Here they are. And I have since decided I don't want to do either of those. I'm going to do something completely different with this. So I was looking through Andrea Mowry's catalog, because y'all know, I love Andrea. I love her so much. I've actually never followed one of her patterns to the T before, or to a T. I don't know which one it is. To the letter is correct. I've never followed one of her patterns to the letter before, but I think I'm going to now with this. And the pattern that I found was let's go over, Nebula. Here it is. Here's the Nebula. I'll put it here. I'll put up project photos. It's beautiful. Okay, it's so pretty. I'm obsessed with it. And I think, like, because I gotta check the time. Ooh, I gotta wrap this up soon. Because I have been knitting a lot of, like, I've already knit a lot of sweaters. I already have like 4 or 5 sweaters that I know I love to wear, that I know I can go back to all the time. They're staples in my wardrobe. And so I think because I have that like safety net of sweaters that I know I love and I know I wear, I'm feeling more interested in doing adventurous stuff. So this design, it has like a drop hem, so it's higher at in the front and lower in the back, and I'm going to elongate it, but I don't want the back to like hit my knees. So it's probably still gonna show like a little bit of tummy, which means I'm probably gonna have to wear something under it. But I'm fine with that. I think it's gonna be very like 2000s chic. Um, and I've decided to use this color, as I've said, along with, I wanted to pair it with something else. Like I could use this on its own and just knit a larger size. It would be fine, because it's knit on a DK weight gauge. So I was like, I could use this and just knit it at a bigger size, smaller gauge. It's fine. But my heart was with pairing it with something. And what I decided to do, I was looking everywhere. And at first I was looking at the Farmer's Daughter Odang, because that's what they recommend in the pattern. But the Farmer's Daughter colors are not accurate on the website. And I was finding I was having to go on Ravelry for every single one of them. And a lot of them don't have any entries on Ravelry. So I was like, and not to be shady, but I was like, I don't want to buy from a store online that doesn't have accurate colors. Like, if I'm going to buy from Farmer's Daughter, I'm just going to do it in person. But none of the stores near me carry the base. So I went to Chain Fiber because I knew that they had their Melted Baby Surrey, which, by the way, is an awful name. I know that they mean like it's Baby Surrey with like a melted effect, but Melted Baby Surrey sounds awful. I don't know. It sounds terrible. But that Surrey base is actually too thick. So I was looking at their other Surrey. They have another base called Surrey Lace. And I found some colors that I liked, but through looking at their Surrey Lace base, I found they have a brand new base called Baby Teddy. So they have a classic base called Teddy, and it's a DK weight boucle made from alpaca. It's gorgeous, and I was like, oh my god, I need it. And they have a brand new base called Baby Teddy. It's so new that it's, again, it doesn't even have an entry on Ravelry yet. It doesn't exist on Ravelry yet. It's brand new, and they had a color that I loved called Clash, I think is the color. Again, I'll put it up here. And I bought it. And I bought 4 skeins of it to hold with this. It was a little bit difficult for me to find boucle held with like regular worsted spun wool on, again, for examples on Ravelry, but I did find a couple of examples. Once again, I'll put them here. Here's some examples that I love. I think one of them's crochet, but they're gorgeous. I love them. And those patterns that I've just shown you sold me on the idea of doing the boucle. So I bought the boucle. I don't have it yet, because Chain Fiber can take some time to ship. Especially they said like when they've just had a drop, which they had, I didn't even know it, but they had like just released a new line, and they were sold out of a bunch of stuff, and so I'm imagining that they're pretty slammed. So they've said that it can take, well, they didn't say this to me, but I looked at their shipping policy, and it said that it can take about a week to ship everything out. So, and I bought it like 3 days ago, so it'll get to me at some point, hopefully pretty soon. But yeah, that's my plan for this, and that's the only acquisition that I have, thank God. I don't need more yarn. But yeah, so that's everything. That's everything with my whole September update. The only thing that I want to say before I go is that I'm going to be out in mid-September for a couple of weeks. Yeah, probably about 2 weeks. There's going to be a like 2-week or so period right in the center of September when I'm just not really going to be able to film at all. So you'll probably not get a mid-month video from me, but you should get an end of September podcast, which is crazy to think that it's like, God, time just goes fast. Anyway, you will see me again. Probably not for the next month. So yeah, that's it. So I never know how to end these things. God. Yeah, with that out of the way, thanks for watching. Happy knitting, and I'll see you probably next month, or I might surprise you and see you in 2 weeks, but probably next month. So yeah, thanks for watching, and bye bye.